first segment of the news is brought to you by KFC.
Fireworks erupting in the House of Assembly this morning, leading to all but one opposition member being escorted out by police. Good evening, everyone. I'm Makushla Pinder with your JCN News. It's a pleasure having you with us. Police weren't taking any chances. A team of senior officers were stationed just outside the House of Assembly in anticipation of a protest staged by Free National Movement supporters. That protest never happened, but those officers were useful nonetheless. You see, they escorted opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis from the lower chamber following his refusal to withdraw a statement about the Prime Minister. And as Sasha Liborn tells us in tonight's top story, that's just the beginning of this morning's parliamentary drama. Our team coverage begins right now.
Honourable Member for Kalani, the chair orders you to show proof or withdraw the remarks. This is not an opportunity for speech.
I have no intention of withdrawing anything.
You are out of order. Resume your seat.
What I said.
Member for Kalani, turn the microphone off. Member for Kalani, withdraw. Member for Kalani, resume your seat. Member for Kalani, resume your seat.
And with that, the House of Assembly was suspended for 15 minutes, but the action kept going. Senior police officers made their way to Free National Movement leader Dr. Hubert Minnis, prompting opposition MPs to form a human chain, pushing their chairs back, making it difficult for officers to reach their leader. After much back and forth between the police and Deputy F&M leader Loretta Butler-Turner, 7 of the F&M's 8 MPs left the lower chamber. Now, just to put all this in perspective, all this came about after Dr. Minnis refused to withdraw a statement made in the House of Assembly when the House last met on July 22nd and July 17th. At the time, Dr. Minnis claimed Mr. Christie is corrupt and in cahoots with Canadian fashion mogul and Liferkey resident Peter Nygaard over the whole issue of stem cell research. When the House resumed today, House Speaker Dr. Kendall Major asked Dr. Minnis to once again withdraw those comments, but Dr. Minnis refused. As a result, the House Speaker in turn named Dr. Minnis and asked him to leave immediately. The F&M chief was then suspended from the next 2 House sessions. Following the firestorm, Dr. Minnis addressed reporters and F&M supporters on the steps of Parliament.
It is my duty as the leader of the Free National Movement and as the leader of the official opposition to explain my behavior in the House to members and supporters of my party and to all Bahamians who love our democracy and cherish our democratic institutions and processes.
This is a sad thing.
Nothing that I do or say is meant to cause insult or injury to our democracy or to the House of Assembly, where I am privileged to serve as a servant of the good people of Kalani and of the proud party that I am honored to lead.
Furthermore, the opposition leader maintains that Mr. Nygaard has a special relationship with the Prime Minister.
I continue to believe that the cozy relationship between Mr. Christie, his government, and Mr. Nygaard is unhealthy for our democracy.
Yes!
Indeed, I believe that if the full extent of that relationship was known to the Bahamian people, there would be near universal disapproval of it.
Now, as we said earlier, Dr. Minnis has been suspended for 2 consecutive House sessions. During that time, he says 7 out of the 8 opposition members will join him as well. Reporting for JCN News, I'm Sasha Liborn.
Well, during that scuffle with police, F&M MP Richard Liborn was roughed up by several police officers. He said the entire ordeal was unnecessary and uncalled for.
You know, that was an unfortunate incident. I don't think that I should have been subjected to what I was. Touched me, yeah, they tried to move me and forced me away from where I was standing, so I resisted, and then we finally left without incident, yeah.
Well, as indicated, only 7 of the 8 F&M MPs participated in that demonstration. The odd man out, Central and South Abaco MP Edison Key, says that was not his battle to fight and one he doesn't agree with. Our Ianthea Smith has that angle.
The last time South Abaco MP Edison Key made a big splash in the House of Assembly was just before last year's general elections, when he called out DNA leader Granville McCartney over some issues. Well, today, the often quiet and reserved MP is once again making headlines. But this time it's for his silence and the fact that he did not stand by his opposition colleagues.
And I'm not a follower. I've never been a follower. I believe in something. I believe in it.
And it's on that premise that Edison Key says he was not going to engage in the opposition's protest in Parliament on Wednesday. Key was the third MP to actually debate on the stem cell research and therapy bill when debate opened several weeks ago. And from the very onset, he supported the cause. So now that his leader and opposition colleagues don't support it, doesn't shake his belief at all. In fact, the 75-year-old MP says had it not been for stem cell therapy, he probably wouldn't be alive today.
September will make 3 years since I had quadruple bypass surgery. Just suppose that the government had made a law, a law, that no doctor in the Bahamas could take another artery from another part of your body and put it into to divert a blocked artery to save my life. I would have been dead 3 years ago.
Key says he had that surgery in Miami. This then would explain why, when the opposition stood up in objection, he just couldn't join in. In fact, he brought an avocado tree into the House during his contribution a few weeks ago and demonstrated the benefits of this controversial therapy. Little wonder why, during the ruckus, Key was the only F&M member of Parliament who did not interfere with police as they tried to take the F&M leader away. And after his parliamentary colleagues left the precincts, he was the only one to be seated in the opposition's front row. When asked how he feels about his leader's actions, Key said,
"Well, it's entirely up to him. That's his actions, and I don't intend to condemn him, or that's his views, and just like this is my views. I have no right to get up in Parliament and call another member a crook or a thief unless I have evidence to prove it. And this is exactly what took place. And my leader was asked to withdraw or produce the evidence. So he couldn't produce the evidence, and he didn't withdraw. So he didn't withdraw. So I didn't think I needed to follow after him."
And this isn't the first time Key has disagreed with his party on an issue. During the budget debate, he voted differently.
What would I look like one day supporting it, and the next day I turn against it because someone else turns against it? I am an individual. I think for myself. I am here because the good people of Central South Abaco sent me to Parliament, and I will always vote what my conscience tells me and what I believe is the right way to do it.
The records have shown that Edison Key has crossed party lines before, but he says this incident doesn't suggest a rift between himself and the F&M or any allegiance to the PLP. He says the only party he's considering joining is Edison Key. And when the House meets again, Key says he'll be right there because he's a member of Parliament and he's not been suspended. His leader has. The South Abaco MP says he's not at all concerned about any fallouts that may happen between him and his other F&M colleagues, because at the end of the day, he says Edison Key will always be Edison Key. Reporting for JCN News, I'm Anthea Smith.
Well, after this morning's showdown in the lower chamber, House Speaker Dr. Kendall Major addressed the matter with reporters. Corval Pyfrom has more now on the Speaker's reaction to the opposition's behavior and what he says will happen next.
Though it has garnered much publicity, Wednesday's suspension and subsequent removal of a member of the House of Assembly was not unprecedented. The last time it happened, then Speaker Alvin Smith ordered the removal of Angliston MP Glenys Hannah Martin. This time, opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis sticking to his refusal to withdraw comments he made that suggested possible corruption on the part of the government, forcing the arm of Speaker Dr. Kendall Major. Free National Movement members as well as party supporters are crying foul against the Speaker, claiming the opposition is being silenced. The Speaker, meantime, maintains that he's upholding the laws of Parliament.
Other members have been on the other side of the rules by the Speaker. I have asked members from the governing side to withdraw certain allegations, and they were reluctant. And they've been reluctant for a while, but eventually they would comply. So the chair have been pretty consistent in my rulings, and so I think it's more or less it's a political answer, really.
This has been a fight brewing for weeks now. Dr. Major has even met privately with Dr. Minnis, who has been adamant in his opposition to the stem cell therapy bill currently before the House. And while the Speaker says he appreciates Dr. Minnis's passion, he believes that the spectacle that occurred was more about politics than anything else.
I got a sense that other factors were involved. Other factors may be political, I don't know. I can't speak to that. I got a sense of that, but every time I come in this place, I believe members will recognize the importance of the work we do, and eventually I thought he would have had a change of heart. He didn't, and so he received the punishment as so afforded by the Speaker.
All but one of the opposition's members walked out along with Dr. Minnis, and they have stated that they will not return until his 2-session suspension ends. But their absence won't stop the business of the House from getting done. Therefore, Dr. Major says it's their choice to do as they like.
A quorum is 10 persons, including the Speaker. As long as 10 members, including the Speaker, is there, whether it's opposition, government, the business of the House could continue.
Dr. Major says his decision to suspend Dr. Minnis effectively ends the need for him to withdraw his comments. The House Speaker says hopefully upon he and his members' return, members can get down to getting the work of the people done.
The members of the opposition have a decision to make. The House will resume at 3 o'clock. They can either return and be a part of the debate, or if they choose to not walk into the chambers, it would be up to them. It's their decision.
Corbell Pye from JCN News.
Now, despite all the drama inside and outside Parliament, debate on the stem cell research and therapy bill continued with Golden Gate's MP Shane Gibson on the floor. Mr. Gibson says despite the opposition trying its hardest to thwart this debate, Dr. Dwayne's one of their very own. Dr. Dwayne Sands supports it, and for good reason. He cited a story Dr. Sands recently told about a father whose son needed stem cell therapy.
Whose child was taken to Panama because he was paralyzed from the waist down. And the only thing that could help this child was stem cell treatment. The only thing. And so if this legislation was in place here in the Bahamas, there would be no need for the child to have been taken over to Panama. And Dwayne Sands talked about the wonderful results they saw after the treatment of the stem cell.
Mr. Gibson added that he has proof that during his tenure as a Minister of Health, Dr. Minnis's views were quite different on the issue.
On March 16, 2012, in summary, Okeanos had complete support from Minister Minnis, as is documented by the approvals we received under his term as Minister of Health, Mr. Speaker.
So he is alleging
Mr. Speaker, just to wrap up.
Did something wrong, but he actually...
They knew before they gave this approval in principle that there was no legislation in place. He fully supported it. Met with him and said not only that he supported, the Minister of Tourism supported, because they're looking now at medical tourism, but also that the then Prime Minister Hubert Ingham also supported and signed off on it. And now they have the gall to come in this place and deprive the Bahamian people from the opportunity to receive this life-changing treatment. Mr. Speaker, I say to you, the devil is a liar.
Well, that wraps up our first segment. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
The first segment of the news was brought to you by KFC.